What's going on, guys? So we got kind of a different one here today. It's an 02 Hyundai Sonata, and this, believe it or not, this car's got 43,000 original miles on it, so very low mileage Hyundai Sonata. The complaint that the customer has is that when she goes to put gas in the car, she'll get about a gallon in, and then the gas pump will start clicking on and off, on and off, on and off, to the point where it gets to you can't put gas in it at all. You got to drive it around. So you only put about 3 gallons of gas in this. Now, this is a very common issue amongst these older Hyundais as well as Subarus. There is a vent valve that vents the charcoal canister for the fuel tank. Now, when you place fuel into your tank, you've got a lot of vapor, a lot of air, a lot of everything that's got to go somewhere when you replace that with the liquid gasoline. So most normal cars, as you fill up your gas tank, the vent valve opens, which allows the gas fumes coming off of the tank to run through a charcoal canister, get filtered, and then ultimately end up out in atmosphere. Now, what happens, and this happens a lot in the Northeast, and I don't know if it happens to you guys anywhere else, but spiders build webs inside of the canister vent outlet, which I don't know why spiders are attracted to gasoline. Maybe we'll have to look that up someday, but they are attracted to the gasoline smell. So they end up building nests and webs and everything else up inside of the vent tube. Now, the vent tube goes directly into the solenoid, which ultimately jams the solenoid. So the solenoid gets jammed shut. You go to put fuel in your tank, and it builds pressure inside the tank, which has to come out somewhere. So it comes out through your fill neck, back into the pump, which the pump nozzles have a sensor built into them where if it receives backwards air pressure, it will click the nozzle off. So with the tank filling full of pressure and blowing back out at the nozzle just keeps clicking off until you can't put any fuel in the thing at all. So we're gonna get in here, we're gonna drop the canister, we've got a new vent valve, we're gonna clean things out, and I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like. All right, guys, so right here is the charcoal canister, and you can see a bunch of tubes and hoses going to it from the fuel tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop this cover down, we're going to drop the canister down, and I'll show you guys where the solenoid is located and everything else. But we got to be careful because this is the Northeast and things are rusty. So pull the canister down carefully so we don't hurt anything. And our vent valve is right at the top there. So we are going to gingerly remove some of this stuff here. And we're going to check to see if our vent valve, or our tube for our vent valve, is plugged up. Alright, guys, so we got the entire vent valve assembly off. This here is the canister vent valve, and then you have a hose that runs to the canister itself and clamps in place, and then this is the actual vent filter. Now, normally what you do is just grab a hold of this hose here and try to blow through it. And I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this, but we are getting something through it. However, I don't know if you just saw the stuff that came out of it when we blew in it, but we are going to replace this solenoid because these are known to be faulty. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're actually going to take, spin you guys around a little bit, we're going to take this whole canister off of here and probably do the same thing with it. Is we'll blow through it, make sure there's no restrictions in the canister, because these can also fill with fuel, causing a massive restriction. So we're going to make sure that all of our lines and everything is solidly cleared out, and then we'll put this thing back together with the new solenoid. All right, so we got the actual canister out. Now this is the section that goes from the fuel neck. This is the section that goes out to the filter itself and the purge valve. So we're going to blow in here, see if we get air out of here. And we do. Perfect amount of air. So yeah, We get good airflow through there, so now we're going to check the line that runs from this canister up to the fuel neck itself. All right, guys, so we're going to try to make our lives a little bit easier here. And what we're going to do is hook up the smoke machine. Now, smoke machine is actually going to pipe into, I don't know how well you guys will be able to see it, but it'll pipe right into where the canister is hooked up. Now, this should go through the neck, back down into the tank, and then back up through the fuel filler neck. So what we're going to do is pull the fuel cap and make sure that we're getting smoke throughout the entire system, because then we will know that we've got a free-flowing system. All right, guys, so now we're going to fire up the smoke and see what happens. All right, guys, so after a lot of work and a lot of looking around and messing around and looking at diagrams, we found a couple of problems. Let's see if we can get some light on the situation for you. So now you can see we got smoke coming out of the canister like we're supposed to. We got our smoke machine up there working in there. Now, we had two problems. Our canister purge solenoid, or our canister vent valve, was stuck shut. So that caused a major issue. And then because of that, there's up inside here, way back in there, there's a valve that sits on top of the tank, and that valve is designed to shut when the tank is completely full. Now, this customer barely drives this thing. As I said, it's an 02 with 43,000 miles on it. And she's constantly filling the tank or not filling the tank and just letting it sit. So there's a little check ball inside of that valve up there that's metal, and it rusted inside. So a couple of well-placed hammer blows, and we managed to free that up, and now we've got our gas tank actually purging out like it's supposed to through the charcoal canister. So I'm not gonna lie, this Hyundai behind us kind of sent me for a little bit of a loop. It's nothing I've ever seen before. So the rundown of it was you couldn't get any fuel into the tank. And because you couldn't get any fuel into the tank, it kept shutting the nozzle off and everything else. Well, we did some research on it, and we did some smoke testing. We found out that we could actually get pressure into the tank, but we couldn't get pressure out of the tank. Now, that's the interesting part, because no matter where I pressurized the tank from, I could put pressure in, but we could not get pressure out. So after doing a ton of research on this thing and finding out that where the vent tube is on the top of the tank is actually a rollover protection valve and a full fuel valve. So when the liquid level reaches a certain point, it shuts that valve, and if the car were to roll over, it shuts that valve. Well, that has a metal check ball in it. That metal check ball was stuck in the closed position. So after doing all that, we put some pressure to the tank, we tapped on that nozzle, or tapped on that fitting a little bit, heard the ball rattle loose, and all of a sudden all the pressure exited the tank. So we had a couple issues on this one. The vent valve for the canister was stuck shut, and also that valve was stuck shut. So after freeing up both of those, everything is working perfectly. So just a quick little interesting one I figured I'd give you guys some insight on. So we got it all back together, everything's working like it should, and we're gonna move on to probably Tommy's GST or GTST. Yeah, that one. The Skyline. We're gonna move on to the Skyline. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.